If you leave a yoga class and your hips right away feel really tight, or you do some stretching and you just don't feel like you're getting into those deep places, odds are you probably need some mobility work and maybe even some stability and some strengthening work. It's really common. We think about it in all of our most common achy parts, and hips are certainly one of them. So let's tap into our hips and we'll get started in a child's pose. Now, when we're working the hips, I like to offer people the knees wide as a mat variety child's pose, torso drop between, because it's going to start accessing the groin. And you could say, you know, that's not for me. I like my knees together. I like the space it gives me in the lower back. We always listen to our own bodies first, right? In a child's pose variation, it's going to start to open up your spine. I love it too because we connect with our bodies. Even if our knees are open, there's a lot of connections between ourselves. Our seat by our heels, a little bit of torso on the legs. We feel our feet, our hands, our foreheads against the mat. And all of these things are heightening awareness of our body through this very physical sensation. So take a moment to notice those sensations. And the more body awareness we have, the safer our practice is going to be. The more beneficial it's going to be. So let's inhale, float our way up to a table. We want our knees about hip distance apart, stacked right under our hips and our hands spread out. And I always like some cats and cows. They warm up our spine for the work we're about to do, and they connect breath to movement. Now, so kind of just get things flowing, get us ready to move. So you know, of course, if you're new to these, that we are inhaling and lifting, exhaling and arcing. We'll take one more set. Come back to neutral. So this is more for the side body, which benefits the lower back, but bump your hip all the way to the right. Have a look back over your shoulder at your hip. How does that feel in left side body? Good and spacious? You might feel a little pull on the outside of your hip. Come to center. I always like to neutralize, pause, and then we bump to the left, and we look over to the left. That wonderful, you see how the side body sort of gets spacious here. And we come center. So take your right foot back. You're going to land on the ball of your foot, press through your heel. How does that feel in your calf? Yeah, so, you know, we're talking about our hips, not so much the lower, but the legs, the back, that's also going to play a really important role in making sure our hips are good and released. So lift your leg up. Core is engaged. We're going to work now on the mobility of our hips. If you sit or stand for work, I mean, most of the things we do in our day-to-day life aren't taking our hips into the full range of mobility. So we're tapped into our core, our foot's floating, and we just tap our toes to the mat and lift it back up. You're going to feel a little squeeze in your glute. Really try and make this motion from your glute, your little taps. Our glute is the biggest extensor of our hips, so if our butt doesn't have a little strength and stability, our hips will be weaker for it. Never hurts to work the butt. We'll do one more. This time we're going to hold it up, and we're going to take our foot all the way over to the right. Big reach. Bring it back. Tap it down. Now we're really moving our joint as we take our foot all the way over to the right. Nice big flex foot. Look at the toes, bring it back. Exploring the range of motion in our hips. We'll do one more. And we'll bring it back. Tuck the knee in. Same thing on the opposite side. I like to throw in a cat and cow. Just to check in, reset the shoulders, reset the spine. So now we're on the left foot. Ball of the foot's planted. We're pressing into our heel, getting spacious in our calves. Elbows soft. Then we float. Core is engaged. Strong core protects the lower back. And we take our taps. Lifting with our strong seat. You might even notice a little something here. This one's stabilized and engaged. Well, the left is getting that wonderful little strength work, lifting the leg and floating it back down because we don't want to use momentum. All right, the next time we find ourselves lifted, we're kicking out to the left, trying to get the toes perpendicular. I don't know about you, but there's some tightness in my hip. They're not going completely there, but we are toying with our range of motion. So if our joint is loosened up, we're going to get more benefit when we do take our hip stretches. If we are lacking mobility in our hip joint, our muscles are going to be compensating and we're not going to get that full range of benefits. All right, let's do one more. Big reach. Bring it back. Tuck the knee in. The cat-cow rinse just checks in with the whole spine. And we'll give our toes a curl under, our seat a lift. We'll come into a downward facing dog. We'll let our head hang. We'll pedal things out. Now you might be noticing the impact of those spacious calves. How does it feel? Little heart to knee. Let's walk our feet to our hands. Come into a forward fold. I always like a half lift here to really lengthen out the spine, get soft in the knees, so that when we hinge down, we're really maximizing the benefits of this hinge. We might sway, shake out our head. Let's drop our hands, roll up nice and slow to stand. Head coming up last. We'll give our shoulders a little roll back into space. All right. Standing up nice and tall. We want to lift up from the pelvic floor at the same time. We kind of ground and settle into our feet. So let's get our left foot good and grounded at the heel and at the ball. We'll pick the right foot up. Again, lifting up from the pelvic floor. So now we are strengthening our hip flexor, our psoas, our hands on our hips. We might take a nice big kick out. We're looking deep, deep strength here. Again, playing with our range of motion, playing with our stability. Bend the knee. Just explore sending it out. How does that feel? Getting things open and released. Getting deep into the hip joint. Bring it back. Kick it out. Bring it back. Open it up. Bring it back. Find your stair step. Set your foot back. Land on the ball. Come into your high lunge. A high lunge that feels good for you, that feels stable in the feet, grounded, connected, and spacious in the hip flexor. We were just strengthening this in our psoas. Now we're opening it up. Bring your hands overhead. Soften your elbows away from your ears. If you want a little chest shoulder opening, drop your elbows in line with your shoulders. Pick up your chin ever so slightly. Inhale up and open up. Find warrior two. Press through the pinky edge of your back foot. Open your arms. Gaze over the front left. All but a hint of softness out of your knee. Right hip pulls back. Right from the waistline, we come into our triangle pose. Another great one for the psoas. Psoas is this deep muscle that helps the hip flexors flex. We need it to be strong so it can do its work, and we also need to make sure it's not too tight, and that thing will tighten up. It is deep inside of us. So moves like triangle are going to be really great. Let's inhale up, flip our palm, exhale, reverse our triangle. Nice big reach. You're going to feel that beautiful opening right in the hip, well, right above the hip inside of it. See how we're mixing strength, stability, and stretch for the joint itself and for all the muscles that move the joint, like the seat and the psoas. Big inhale. Exhale, sink back into warrior two, long and strong. We're gently opening up our left knee so we can see our big toe and accessing the inner hip. Let's cartwheel. Frame our hands, turn our right toes forward, step left foot back, and just find our downward facing dog. Some nice pedals, an opportunity to reset. Let's take a little active rest. Okay, big inhale. Exhale to the top. Inhale, up half. Exhale, big hinge. Let's roll up to stand. Head up last. Couple shrugs in the shoulders. Right foot's good and grounded. At the heel, at the ball. We want stability to get this work done. Left picks up. We're engaged right in our core, in our pelvic floor. We are activating this hip flexor. We're giving it that strength and stability. We kick our foot out. Strong as we can be. We bend. Open it up, range of motion here on the left. Bring it back. Kick it out. Finding the strength. Core engaged, that's why we want our grounded foot. Bend. Open. Come back to center. Hold. Grounded right foot. Step left back. High lunge. Feet planted, you're on the ball of your back foot. The back foot is as far back that it feels safe in this hip flexor. This is the first time we're opening it here on the left. Knees stacked. That keeps the weight out of our knees and in our hips, and we are looking for strength in our hips, so it doesn't hurt to have the weight here, and the knees are kind of delicate. Hands up, elbows in line with shoulders. We can explore opening the chest. Inhale up, exhale, open up, warrior two. Knee stacked, left foot just about parallel to the back of the mat. Gaze over the front right fingers. We shift the hips back, all but a hint of softness out of the knee. Pull left back. We find our trikonasana, our triangle, where we're conditioning the psoas. So it's better prepared to help our hips flex. Keep that front knee soft. Inhale, come on up. Flip palm, exhale, reverse. Feel that delicious release here in the inner right hip. Making sure that psoas is good and flexible. Big inhale. Exhale back to warrior two. Sink in the knees, stack it. Put the gaze over the fingers. Gently open up the knee. Range of motion in the hips. Maybe it's a little easier on this side. This is where we're going to change it up. So right toes are going to go to meet left toes. You're probably going to go on the long side of your mat if you're using one. Now you're in a big straddle stretch. Opening up the arms, back into the chest, the shoulders, gently picking up the chin, hands to the hips, leading with your heart with this nice long back. Take a hinge all the way down to a straddle stretch. How does that feel? Maybe a little bit more spacious in the legs than anything. Can you shake out your head? Get long in the spine. This is one of my new favorites. Walk your foot or walk your hands all the way over to your right foot, bend into your right knee, and straighten out your left knee, lifting your left leg. Big reach. How's that for range of motion in the hips? Come back to center, back to forward fold. Give yourself a moment here. Walk all the way to the left. We shift the stretch into our left leg. We bend into our left knee. And then we string it to almost straight, lifting the right leg. Strong seat. Stable left hip. Come back to center. Let's do that one more each side. Nice big hinge. Walk over to the right. I find it's easier to settle into my knee. And as I lift my leg, straightening out the knee, we'll set the foot down, come through center, take a hinge. All the way left. Little bend into the knee. Lifting right leg. We'll bring it back to center. Take a nice big hinge. Hands to the hips. Inhale your chest up with a nice long spine. We'll take right foot back to warrior two. We'll cartwheel, frame, step back into our downward facing dog. Take some pedals. How are you feeling? Little shake out of the head. Gently set your knees to the mat. Tabletop, we've been here. Swing it on over to your seat. Extend your legs long, bend into your knees. Windshield wiper. And you want to make those windshield wipers nice and spacious, feet about mat distance apart. Really exploring the rotation of our hips. Let's head onto our back. Ease our way down. We'll do one more strengthening exercise, and then we'll find some big release. So take your right foot, bring it on your left. Find like you're setting up a reclined pigeon. Roll your hips up. Taking a bridge here. How does it feel? Strong seat. Little pulse of the hips. It's like a strong pigeon. We'll take one more pulse. We'll lower our hips, draw our foot into our chest, and we'll come into our reclined pigeon. And now we can hold. Focus on breathing and making all those wonderful connections to our mat and our body. I should say, if this pose is big for you, some of this work that we've been doing should start to loosen up your seat so it can make it more accessible. Until that happens, you can always take the pose with the foot on the mat. No one said you have to hold the left leg. Our bodies will open with time. Take a big inhale. See if you can't drop that whole figure four off to the left. You might take a fallen figure four. I love it. I find it gets really into the hip and the lower back. It does not work for everybody. So you could cross right leg over or just rest the right knee on top of the left. You might open up your arms, have a little look to the right, get the neck involved if it feels good. Take your head center. Your legs back across. Unwind them. Windshield wipers. They give us that wonderful range of motion in our hips, and they sort of reset our bodies. We plant our feet. Put our left ankle on our right knee, and we inhale, lift our hips up, kind of like we're taking a bridge pose. So how does this feel? We're going to look for that strong seat. We're going to take those little pulses of our hips. You might feel your glutes engage as you do so. We want the strength here, remember. They're helping extend our hips. So we're going to need some strength and stability in our glutes in order for them to do that. Last little push. We'll roll our hips down. Remember, you could stay, you could hold just as is if you are tight, or you could pull the leg towards you. The idea being, with enough range of motion work, we get deep into our hip, we might be able to, again, better come into these poses. Our bodies, our joints are just more prepared. They're loosened up. Or even if we're still modifying, we're getting the most benefit because we're not compensating for a lack of mobility. Great opportunity to connect with the mat, with your body, where it touches the mat to build that physical awareness. The more in tune we are, the more we can explore. Big inhale. Figure 4 off to the right, which we know we can change up that variation if this doesn't feel good for us, even just simply dropping the left knee or crossing it over. But we hold, we might open up the arms, we might look left. So that physical awareness, we're connected to our bodies. We're going to be safer. We're going to know our limits, but we're also going to know where we can gently challenge, where our bodies are going to naturally resist because it's something new, and our nervous system is saying, hey, this could potentially be unsafe. We're going to work through some of that with awareness. But off the mat, when we leave this class, if we have that honed awareness, we might have more mindful moments where we check in with our body, where we say, hey, I know that doesn't work. And then we'll take our heads to center and bring our legs across. We'll unwind, we'll plant our feet, we'll windshield wiper things out. For the sake of balance, because we've been strengthening, stretching, stabilizing the back, and we've been opening the front, let's get into that front a little bit more. Bring knees to chest. Give your knees a hug, rinse it, rock it out. Open up to your happy baby. Catch your feet. Knees drop down towards the ribs, big spacious hips, maybe a little rock. Maybe you prefer stillness. It's a great place to sort of lengthen your back and your spine out against the mat. All right, so what we're gonna do, keep holding our right foot. We're gonna let go of left. How does a half of happy baby feel? And somewhat similar to that standing pose when we were turning our hip out, except for there might be a touch more intensity. If you need to adjust, extending your leg, finding some different movements, that's pretty normal. It's an intense pose. So let go of the foot. Give your knee a nice hug into your chest. We're back in our psoas with this little knee to chest here. Just check in. Tuck left up to meet. Open up both. We're back in our happy baby. This time we're releasing right foot and we're holding left in that very targeted half. It is going to change the sensation. You listen and accommodate to your body. But remember, our bodies, our nervous systems are always looking to keep us safe. So they're going to tell us to stop on that subconscious level, where if we're aware and in tune, we know where the pain is, where we need to stop, where we can comfortably be challenged. And that's an awareness we just want to keep honing and understanding better. Last big inhale. Let go. A little psoas, squeeze, hug, rock things out. Bend into right, hug both knees in, little rock. Plant your feet. A windshield wiper, really rinsing things away. Plant our feet at the edges of the mat. Let our knees come together in the center, exploring a different rotation of our hips. How does it feel? Getting spacious across our lower backs. Our constructive rest. Knees apart. Feet back to center. One more hug of knees into chest. Little rock and squeeze. Set your knees off to the right. Open up your arms if it feels good. Arms don't have to be completely open. Maybe another look to the left if it's nice in your neck. I love ending with twists for the same reason we open up with cats and cows. They rinse out the spine. They're really refreshing to the spine. They make sure we're not gripping in our back, which we know can absolutely have an impact on our hips, which is what we've been tapping into. Bring your head to center, your legs to center, tuck in, little rock out. Knees to the left, arms open. Maybe a look off to the right. Head center, leg center. Give your knees one final hug and squeeze, maybe a last little rock out for your lower back. You might tuck your head up, big squeeze, and exhale. So you could come into a very traditional savasana where you sort of let everything roll open. If you like the knees bent, constructive rest, or just a bent knee, remember, we're listening to our hips, whatever they need. We like to take a moment at the end of our class. It can be very meditative, where you focus on breath. But since we've been really highlighting the physical, especially in our hips, it's a wonderful place to check in with this area. To notice sensation, to notice changes. Sort of reflect on what worked and what didn't, but to be really present in this part of the body. And then a very big inhale. And changes the pace of our breath. We might sigh out. And inhale into fingers and toes, little movements, wrists and ankle rolls. Never hurts to take a full body stretch before you roll onto one side. So you can press yourself back up to easy safe. So again, if you have sore, achy hips, even after stretching, try and incorporate some of these mobility, stability exercises into your practice. And I think you're going to see some more improvements. And I will keep making videos that go over these things. So please like and subscribe for more content.